All right, Sander, great to have you on. Welcome to the show.
Hey Steve, glad to be here.
How's your summer going in Lugano? Warm?
Super warm,
Yeah,
34 degrees, and the
yeah.
humidity is quite painful. But as a Nordic, you can never complain having it too hot in
But
the
you have the
summer.
lake right there, so that's got to come in handy.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm actually leaving to Norway
Oh,
tomorrow,
nice. Okay.
so
Spending a
spending
few
some
weeks up
time there.
there for the summer, or
Yeah,
nice. Two weeks. We're off to Sweden, so that'll be nice. Spending about 3 weeks up there, so that'll be good.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. Not too bad to escape the heat from here at the moment. Jesus. All right, let's get into it. Maybe perhaps if we can just sort of start with the traditional business. Can you maybe walk us through like the origins of H100 and its current status as well, what the roadmap looks like? Because I think you're launching soon, but it's not quite there yet.
Yes, H100 has one digital health portfolio company called Entire Body, which I founded back in 2016, which is a digital exercise nutrition coaching platform. And we have basically since 2016 built out tools for digital coaches to deliver their services online. Um, I stepped down as a CEO in that company in 2021. That's when I went into the crypto industry full time. But since then, and especially working with family offices the last 3 years, I realized that preventive health is going to be way bigger than exercise and nutrition coaching. So we have two separate teams. One that works on the digital health side, led by my CTO and co-founder of that company. And we have now a mindset very much aligned with the sovereign individual, where we want to slowly produce more and more content, but also products and services for that. That's a small company, 1.6 million euros in revenue. Back numbers run by the team, and then we have the Bitcoin team that works on the Bitcoin Treasury.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Which is obviously becoming a bigger part of the business. Just quickly, you touched on like the sovereign individual mindset. I mean, obviously, you've said in previous interviews you relocated to sort of increase your freedom, moving away from some of the issues in Norway. Perhaps you could sort of share more about your personal ethos and how that shapes your approach to business.
Yeah, so very early in my career. I'm 28, so I can't say that I have too much
You made
experience,
me feel old.
but yeah, back in 2019, we had a quite hard time to recruit talents in Norway due to the option tax. Like basically, we said, okay, the individual need to be taxed on the option they get. That would probably go to zero. Like that. That's early stage. Unfortunately, probably will go to zero. So that was actually quite painful experience. So we decided to start in Estonia, and Estonia was completely different environment. Um, very startup. The whole ecosystem was very friendly. Um, um, and yeah, we met the president multiple times. Basically, they were there. They tried to learn. They tried to understand how they could build Estonia to be a preferred place to build companies. And Estonia ended up being the country in the world with most unicorns per capita. Um, they basically, together with Sweden, did Skype, and Skype ended up being Pipedrive. You know, it's crazy to think that the challenger to Uber is from Estonia, both.
Right. Okay. Yes, I didn't know that.
So, so all this ecosystem is because they only invest in startups there. There's
Mhm.
like startup full. So
Because they
then
have to
I
tax it on
realized,
too, don't they? If you reinvest it, it's not taxed. Is that correct in Estonia, I think?
so they have a flat tax, like
Right.
20% on everything.
Right.
And they have the digital e-residency, a lot of the government is on their private blockchain. They're quite interesting setup. For me personally, Estonia wasn't the most fun place to live. I have to say, so I started to look at different places. So yeah, and then a couple of years later, I got my first kid, and then I needed, okay, where do I want to build? So then one of the things I looked for was what government is the hardest to change and still work very, very good. And the reason why I'm telling all this is that's why it's how I ended up being very focused on freedom. And Switzerland offer what I think the best package, at least in Europe, where privacy is a value in the society. The government is very hard to change because you have each canton, and each canton can do more or less what they want. So therefore,
Yep.
you get like this internal competition. So if you don't have the big companies, you can basically provide better tax, etc.,
Right.
etc. Lugano, where I live, we are very, very much pushing forward the Bitcoin ethos. So, and on top of that, you have direct democracy, which are quite cool. You can
Yes.
actually like,
Yeah.
if you have enough signatures, you can actually vote against your own government,
Yeah.
and actually change it. So all this ended up like, okay, what's important for me as an individual? It's very important for me as an entrepreneur to be able to be self-reliant, not being dependent on everyone else all the time. And that also have started to for me to question more centralized system, and politics in general. Why do we print so much money and we still have wars? I think why do we print so much money and still have poor people? Like all these kind of things, which are, in my opinion, yeah, um, questions I started maybe thinking about more after I got my first kids.
Yep. Yep. No, no, I get you. I think that I agree with you on Switzerland. The only one I've sort of found which is comparable will be your little neighbour next door, Liechtenstein. Their model's very good as well. But yeah, I think they've got it correct up there.
Yeah, and the good thing about Lugano, I have the Italian vibes. It's
Ah, okay. I just
yeah,
assumed Norwegian wife, so there we go. I shouldn't assume. All right, so moving on to the Bitcoin strategy, which is what people want to hear. You've clearly been very aggressive with your raises and your purchases. I think by my numbers, you could be close to around give or take about 1100 Bitcoin by the time all the money from the current raises are in, which would make it the largest treasury in the Nordics and one of the largest in Europe. And I don't see you slowing down. Do you plan to continue at this pace? And do you have a sort of specific goal in mind, or are you just buying as much as you can?
we have a specific number in mind.
Right.
We don't want to share it yet. It will be
Okay.
part of, but we will be very aggressive. I think we are building one of the balance sheets of the future, and now it's the right moment in time to be as quick as possible. We communicated to the market a couple of days ago that this will be a non-operational balance sheet, and we'll basically don't use it for any revenue generating activities, because we believe in like having this core focus on aggregating as much Bitcoin per share as possible until the market is more ready. And we think the balance sheet size is more important than the tactics in the short term.
Yep. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think you're right. I think the balance sheet's just as important as the P&L, With a weak balance sheet, you're not getting very far. So, you recently mentioned that you were going to look into doing like a convertible note through Stocker. Can you maybe sort of talk a bit more about this and why that would have a benefit over traditional equity and traditional sort of converts?
Yeah, so my other company, FinPeers, has built this, first of all, a community of family offices, but the same other thing we have explored and tried and is tokenization. I think tokenization is going to take a huge part of the future of finance. I think, and so it's basically with tokenization in mind, first of all, to make it more easily available, and more importantly, more easily available for the Bitcoiners. It is true that a limited amount of people get access to these convertibles today. Um, First of all, for practical reasons, and of course also for speed, like how fast can you do it compared to doing full prospectus and these kind of things. I'm not saying that we will never do that, but I mean for speed, it for us a big part of the success is using our network and their network to accelerating fast. So this tokenization on Liquid, the layer two or side chain of the Bitcoin chain, basically give Bitcoiners the opportunity to invest with Bitcoin, have their debt denominated in Bitcoin, and get their premium back in Bitcoin, and also make it more available for more people, but especially the Bitcoiners, and making these convertibles more globally accessible for people that are qualified, unfortunately, only qualified professional investors. But again, that will broaden up and make it more like something you can provide to more people if they want to participate. So it's a big part of our strategy to be innovative in these kind of strategies, and I think Stocker is one of the perfect partners to do so. First of all, I worked with them before. I know them very well. They're very good guys, huge Bitcoin network, and they have shown that they can raise over $1 billion on their platform. And we want to be part of that. And yeah.
No, that sounds good, especially the part. And again, if you can avoid the fiat rails and stay in Bitcoin, perfect. So sort of going on that, then, I mean, obviously we've seen a lot of companies sort of starting a treasury strategy in the Nordics, but generally speaking, they've all just been equity, convertible equity, that sort of thing. Have you, or are you going to in the future look into doing some sort of, for example, preference share, like Sailor does in the US, like offering interest, some sort of attractive thing that could be available in SEC? Obviously, it's available in USD through MicroStrategy. Do you think there would be a market for that sort of thing in the Nordics?
It will definitely be a market. I would say that we explore all the options in the market out there. It's our core focus to basically increase Bitcoin per share. So yes, we are looking at different options. I think it's as instruments that are more related to size, but we already see that we are more or less debt free on the Bitcoin plus cash we have today, which is close to 40 or actually 42 million USD, which are currently secured. That actually starts to be a balance sheet that you can use for something eventually, and open up for more instruments and basically grow from there.
Yeah, and whether it's so obviously you're open to a sort of any sort of offering that will give you more Bitcoin per share. Do you think you'd be able to attract interest from like Nordic pension funds, that sort of thing, like the Swedish retirement system, Norwegian? I mean, obviously they're huge untapped markets at present, but I get the feeling it's also possibly too soon for them because the government's sort of been fairly.
Definitely too soon for them now. But that doesn't change my view that Bitcoin Treasury companies are going to be one of the biggest, like in each market, be one of the biggest companies that are tradable. I mean, we have the commodity Bitcoin and the balance sheet, which basically give more traders and like other speculators short-term incentive to be active in the stock, and therefore we see more volumes on
Yes.
average on
Yeah.
Bitcoin Treasury companies compared to traditional companies. We see that on NGM, the small exchange, we are often top three on daily volume. So I think that will basically give us more instruments in the future, like ATMs, structures. But I also think that because of the volume, you can also use more instruments, and they will also raise more money, and therefore you will also get to a size quite quickly. And we now see Sailor might be in the S&P 500 index.
Yes.
And I think that will happen in all markets. And I don't think they will do an active decision to join the Bitcoin movement in phase one, but I definitely think that they have to due to indexes and their mandate going forward.
So once you get bigger and bigger, they have no choice anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So you touched on the ATM. I'm assuming that would be a little bit further down the track once liquidity improves more. Yeah, yeah. And what other sort of steps are you putting in motion at the moment to improve that liquidity? So I know you've had some issues with the HOG PF ticker in the US. Are you also thinking of like an OTC listing in Germany or uplisting to Nasdaq Stockholm?
Yeah, like I mean, we can't like officially confirm anything, but I can say that from a management perspective, that's something we are working on. Like liquidity in our stock is top priority, and we are executing on many different activities that I think will help in in weeks, not months.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, your execution has been very rapid and incredible, so I'm not surprised that you can't do all these things in within 1 week. Um, how big is the team? That you said you have the traditional business, then you have the Bitcoin team. How roughly how big would it be at the moment?
So we are in total 7 employees. I would say that we of course use IT resources is of course in both, but we're roughly like we have two on the Bitcoin strategy at the moment, currently hiring. So if you are a talented guy out there, I think H100 is the company for you. Shoot me a DM.
Nice.
But we have publicly looked for a director of the Bitcoin Treasury strategy, and we will maybe have one or two more that will fill different roles going forward. And on top of that team, of course, it's lawyers, it's advisors, but we want to stay lean and
Yeah.
want to use AI and use all the tools we can to ensure that we don't spend too much money because we don't have like a huge or we don't have any revenue on the Bitcoin treasury at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you touched on obviously increasing the team, but you've been really clear in every press release you've done. You spell out everything from A, B, C, D. This is how many shares. This is the price. This is the dates. It's been fantastic. As someone who tracks this sort of thing, I can't really ask for more, even if sometimes they can get a bit too detailed. But are you looking at launching either internally or externally, like some sort of database for sort of shareholders to have just a quick bird's eye view when they jump on the site, have a quick look, see all the stats, and then leave?
I think you will also see some movement on that part this week.
Okay, perfect. I like it. I like it. And then, uh, do you have? I'm sure. Well, obviously, you do have a strategy for storage, but without going into details that you can't, do you do it internally? Do you have a custodian?
We use a fully regulated custodian, and we are also diversifying our partners in multiple jurisdictions.
Okay, good. I like to hear that because that's the one sort of big sort of risk I see with treasury companies. I can see 2 years down the track, someone releases a press release that they've had a catastrophic loss of the keys, and I just you know what's going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, that's one risk which I think is manageable. What I think is quite scary, which I remind my team every day, is like phishing.
Right? Yes.
Be aware. Like it's a lot of incentives to get the logins, not necessarily the
Yeah. Don't click on those emails. Don't answer those random numbers from overseas.
yeah.
And then could you talk about perhaps the value and strategic purpose of bringing in some of the more high profile investors you've brought on, like Adam Back and that sort of thing? Like, what do they bring to H100 as far as the cap table goes and any other strategy?
So I would say like I think it's fair to say that we wouldn't be here with this speed without Adam's experience. Um, I'm very lucky to have known Adam for quite some time, and I also, when we did the first round, messaged him and said, "Do you invest in any other Bitcoin treasury companies?" And say, "Yeah, maybe I should." And that has basically like provided us with so much value, how to structure the tranches. He has been early in strategy. He's been early in Metaplanet, or actually not sure about Metaplanet, but at least the blockchain group and a few others. and very well connected. He has access to most of the information out there that we sometimes get access to. I talk to him on a very regular basis. I can ask him on advice. He sometimes come up with ideas, and it basically opened up. I mean, we had a pretty good network from the get-go, but I think that basically created this rocket of connections that wanted to work with us. We have very like early stage investors like Brad Mills that are super active. He very, very supportive, has a lot of experience. I mean, these are things that goes very quickly. So you need to have people that also can have a calm mind when things goes super, super quick and you have to solve problems in a matter of minutes, not like it's so much stuff going on. So having these people around you, and more importantly, they represent another network that can open up another network of capital that will again accelerate your speed of execution. And you don't need to do the same mistake because they've seen, don't do that because I saw that happen, and be careful with that. So business is people, at least for me, always been like people and trust. And I think by combining a very good group of people that want to move in the right direction, I think it will not be very hard to raise money for Bitcoin Treasury companies. The question is those that are in the first round, how fast will they sell? Will they sell pressure? Will they create sell pressure in your stock? Or are they hodler and supporter? Are they tweeting about you? Are they sharing it with friends? Or are they just there for an easy 5x? Because access here in the right network is easy 5x,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So I think the
You made it look
network is
easy.
everything. Sorry.
You made it look easy.
No, but I think like having people that are supportive and basically open up their network is everything in this industry. And I think in Bitcoin you only get one chance.
Yeah. So clearly they're opening doors, giving you advice, and they're opening doors to more capital, which is clearly the direction you're heading. More capital raises, more Bitcoin per share, a much higher target that you can't share, but it's all going in one direction, which is up.
Yeah, and what product and services should you do? How should you structure the races? Like, how do you is your balance sheet, for example, bankruptcy remote, or are they actually fully protected for investors? All these kind of things, and like the term sheets, everything, yeah, where they can say happy to sign, but be aware that this might be better if you do it like this way. And so these are things you maybe have to pay a lawyer 500 euros to 1,000 euros an
Yeah.
hour
Yeah.
to get you 10% of the value.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, you can't answer this yet because this is a subjective question for the years ahead. But down the track, you said that obviously the Bitcoin on the balance sheet is a separate asset from the operational business. Would you consider looking into, I hate the word, but like, getting yield on it at some point, or for now it's just let it sit there, has to stay there, and that's it?
So, I've seen the president or founder of Tubam, the asset management firm in France. He told me, or he told everyone in Prague actually, like this is not a new business model. Early in the 1600s, people raised capital to buy gold, and that's companies today is called Bank of England.
Right. Yeah.
So and that was basically the business model up to the 90s and 70s, where we basically let the printer go and we didn't care about the underlyings anymore. But this is not a new business model. I'm not saying that we're going to be a bank, but these balance sheets are going to be highly valuable. But we will not speculate before it's quite clear how that will be done. And we will definitely not be first mover here. We will sit still, we will look at all the options, and we will execute if we like.
I love hearing that. Yeah. And I completely agree. I mean, we're literally building the balance sheets of the future, whether you're talking about corporate, personal, the people and the corporations with the biggest balance sheets and the strongest balance sheets in the years ahead will be the capital allocators. They'll be the ones who decide who gets financing. You know, Saylor at the moment is obviously very busy accumulating, but he's turning it sort of gradually into a financial behemoth that 20 years from now will be the biggest corporation in the world and the capital allocator.
I agree. I 100% agree.
Yep. All right, great. Well, I think that's about it, unless there's anything else you wanted to share today, Sander.
No, I think it's fine. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and having me on. And yeah,
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. Enjoy your working holiday in Norway next week.
vacation is cancelled, and we are pushing as hard as we can.
I love it. I love it. Keep it up. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Bye.
Bye.